Howdy gamers, and more Mania for the Game Boy, am I right? Sorry, I've been working on my conversation starters recently. So far, all I have is that, asking how many grandparents someone has left, and asking for their mother's maiden name. They never really answer that one though. So, more Mania for the Game Boy, apart from being a pretty good conversation starter, is also a pretty good game. It was developed by Nintendo EAD and Packsoft Nika, who had helped with Mother 1 and 2, and the game was produced by the legendary Shigeru Miyamoto. You know, the guy who made Nintendogs. This is definitely one of his most unknown games though, with it not even selling 1 million copies. And yeah, 1 million copies of a game sold is a lot, but this was a Nintendo game. For the Game Boy, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters 2 Dark Duel Story sold over 1 million copies for Christ's sake. Unlike Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters 2 Dark Duel Stories, I couldn't find the exact sale numbers from Mania, but I do know that, like I said, it did bad. And unfortunately, because of this, not too many people except for Nintendo fans even know about the game nowadays. The game is a lot of fun though. In it, you play as Muddy Mole. He lives on a farm known as Jinbi Land with his wife and 7 kids. Jinbi is the owner of the farm and is sick of the moles living there, so while Muddy isn't around, he kidnaps his entire family and it's up to Muddy to get them back. He has to travel through 8 different worlds, but he isn't alone. He gets some help from Grandpa Mole, who gives him advice and hearts to refill his health and help him out. As far as gameplay goes, it's a lot of fun. I haven't mentioned it yet, but it's a puzzle game, and a really good one at that. The game does a great job of introducing new mechanics to keep the game fresh, with each level introducing 1 or 2 new ones. I think around level 6 or 7 they stop introducing new mechanics, but that's fine because those levels are a really good culmination of everything you've learned up until that point, and are really hard too. Each level also ends in a boss fight, and each one is really unique. All of them have a different weakness that no one else has, and because of that you have to figure out how to beat them, and all of them are defeated in a different way. My favorite boss by far is from level 4, where you use these curved pipes to make the guy hit himself with his own wrenches. The final level doesn't have any puzzles though, and is just a boss rush with 1 save point. It's not too hard of a level except for the fight against Jinbi himself. This took me over an hour to beat because apparently there was a potion earlier in the boss rush that I missed, so I had to restart the level to go get it. In Mania, the potion will heal all your health, but it's not the only item there is. There's also a map, a sonar that shows hidden rooms and where the boss is, and there's also an item that lets you skip any puzzle you want. Anyways, once I had the potion, I was able to beat Jinbi on my first try. And after the credits finish doing their thing, you get a really cool bonus stage of sorts where you get to look through all your stats, and there's even a thank you message from the developers, which I really appreciate. The game's mechanics of digging holes and throwing metal balls to solve puzzles is really unique, to be honest. Also, the game has a really solid soundtrack, but like I said earlier, the game didn't do very well, and almost no one knows about it today. Even back when the game came out in 1996 for Japan and 1997 in America, almost no one bought it. This was because a few months before the game came out in Japan, Pokemon was released. Everyone with the Game Boy at the time was far too busy playing Pokemon to try out a new puzzle game. As a result, in Japan, the game just sort of fell by the wayside, lost to time, as Pokemon Gen 1 would end up being one of the best-selling games of all time, selling 36 million copies. As for Mania in America, I guess Nintendo wasn't in too much of a rush to localize the game for Western audiences, because it didn't arrive until a year later, and by then it was February 1997. This was in the middle of the system's lifespan when it wasn't doing all that well. Pokemon hadn't come over to the States yet because it had so much text to be translated, so not many people were even interested in the Game Boy at the time. And a year earlier, the N64 had come out, so everyone was focused on that for the most part. The game really just was a victim of poor timing and a lack of interest in the whole mole puzzle genre. Fortunately though, the game would get a second chance, not with the sequel though, but with a port to the 3DS Virtual Console. Around a year after the Virtual Console came out for the 3DS in June of 2012, Nintendo announced a new promotion for it, 8-Bit Summer. Basically, every week there'd be a couple new 8-bit games coming to the Virtual Console, starting with The Legend of Zelda for the NES, and ending with Wario Land 3. Mania ended up being released on the same day as Wario Land 3, and as such was overshadowed by it. And I don't think it sold all that well in the Virtual Console. But since the port of Mania to the 3DS, Nintendo hasn't really done anything with the Mania franchise, The biggest representation the franchise has gotten since the 3DS Virtual Console port was Muddy Mole being one of the hundreds of spirits in Smash Bros. Ultimate. Going back to the whole 8-bit summer thing, in the trailer announcing it, Mole Mania wasn't even mentioned, so I would say it's a pretty forgotten franchise. So on the official Eric Derrick will this franchise come back scale, I give this game a no. Nintendo has just shown no interest in the game over the years, and it didn't even sell all that well to begin with. And Paxsoft Nika, the people who helped make the original game, don't even work with Nintendo anymore. They don't own the rights or anything, but I just don't think Nintendo is all that interested in making the sequel, and Paxsoft Nika would probably have to bring it up to them. And the other person who helped, Shigeru Miyamoto, he still works at Nintendo, but he's too busy with projects like Breath of the Wild 2 and other big projects to focus his time on Mole Mania. It could have been cool to see a sequel on the DS using the touchscreen, but it's too late for that now. And as far as a sequel on the Switch goes, they could do something maybe with HD Rumble as a new gameplay mechanic, and they could probably just get away with reusing the plot of the first game. It doesn't really matter though, I'm not a game designer, but with that said, stay safe, and I love you guys.